For years, we've been told that change is hard, that it takes time, repetition, and grit. We've been trained to believe that rewiring the mind means endless affirmations, years of therapy, and a constant uphill battle with ourselves. But there's something that doesn't get mentioned in mainstream thinking, something most people never hear about. There exists a hidden force, an invisible yet measurable mechanism that operates at the deepest levels of your consciousness. It's not spiritual fluff or wishful thinking. It's rooted in quantum principles, the very same principles that have reshaped modern physics, altered our understanding of reality, and continue to baffle scientists worldwide. This force doesn't operate by logic, time, or language. It moves silently, instantly, and often without us realizing it. It can bypass your mental resistance, can transform your core beliefs, and yes, it can rewire your subconscious mind in ways traditional self-help methods could never touch. The key lies in understanding that your subconscious isn't just a bundle of childhood programming or stored emotions. It is something far more dynamic, a responsive interface between your consciousness and the field of infinite possibility. A field that quantum science has now confirmed is real. A field that can be interacted with, shifted, tuned, activated. This video will take you into that hidden realm, not through fantasy or speculation, but through grounded explanations of how this force actually works. You'll learn how quantum principles like entanglement, superposition, and the observer effect don't just apply to particles, they apply to your thoughts, your beliefs, your entire inner reality. We'll explore why sudden moments of clarity or intuition might be much more than just coincidence, and how these moments could be glimpses into an operating system that runs underneath your conscious awareness. You'll also discover the untapped method for switching the direction of your mental and emotional momentum almost instantly. Not in years, not in months, but now with the right awareness and intention. And by the end of this journey, you'll have a practical framework for activating this hidden force daily. A 3-minute protocol that fuses neuroscience, quantum coherence, and intentional focus, designed to shift your subconscious patterns and align them with the version of reality you actually want to live in. This isn't about belief. It's about mechanics, about cause and effect on a level so subtle that most people never notice it, even though it controls 95% of their behavior. So if you're someone who's been stuck, if you've tried to reprogram your mindset and keep hitting a wall, if you're beginning to suspect there's something beneath the surface pulling the strings, you're right. And today we're going to bring it into the light. Let's get into the hidden quantum code that's been operating inside your mind from the very beginning. There are moments in life that feel electric. A realization strikes, a problem unravels itself, or you suddenly know what to do. These aren't just mental coincidences. They are indicators of a far deeper process taking place. A process grounded in the same physics that governs atoms, photons, and fields of energy that our senses can't perceive. It starts with understanding a simple but revolutionary truth. At the quantum level, everything exists as potential until observed. Particles do not have fixed positions. Instead, they hover in a state of probability, existing everywhere and nowhere at once. This is known as superposition. But something fascinating happens the moment attention is applied. When a particle is observed, its wave of possibilities collapses into one single state. The act of focused awareness causes reality to choose. This is known as the observer effect, and it has baffled scientists for over a century. Now here's where it gets personal. Your thoughts, especially the ones charged with emotion or belief, act like observers. When you hold a thought long enough, focus on it intensely enough, or feel it deeply enough, you influence the field of probability. You initiate collapse. You shift potential into form. This isn't metaphorical. This is physics. But how does this tie into the subconscious? Your subconscious mind is not logical, verbal, or linear. It operates symbolically, emotionally, and energetically. It is also non-local, meaning it isn't just contained in your brain. The subconscious can access information outside of time and space, which aligns directly with quantum entanglement. Entanglement shows us that two particles, once connected, can affect each other instantaneously, regardless of distance. Change one and the other reacts instantly. This isn't science fiction. This has been observed in laboratory settings repeatedly. Now consider this: your thoughts, memories, and beliefs are not isolated data. They are patterns. And when you form a belief, you entangle yourself with a version of reality that matches that belief. The stronger the emotion behind the belief, the stronger the entanglement. That's why breakthroughs often come in moments of emotional intensity or profound stillness. In those moments, your mind accesses a space of possibility, collapses a pattern, and entangles with a different future. This is where sudden shifts in behavior, thought, or insight come from. Not from linear problem solving, but from quantum-level pattern recognition and change. Your subconscious isn't resisting you. It's following the rules of quantum coherence. It doesn't change when you tell it to change. It changes when you create enough energetic alignment for it to collapse one pattern and lock into another. In practical terms, this means your inner work must do more than just talk to yourself. It must generate coherence, an internal state where thought, emotion, and energy line up so precisely that they generate a shift in quantum orientation. This is not mystical language. This is describing real, measurable changes in electromagnetic activity within the heart and brain. Coherence creates clarity. Clarity acts as a tuning fork, and when you're tuned, you become the observer with precision, influencing the quantum field, influencing subconscious reality, and resetting your baseline experience. The feeling that something just clicked? That's your conscious mind catching up to the fact that a quantum shift just occurred. It's subtle, but it's powerful, and it's happening more often than you realize. Every time you experience deep insight, sudden clarity, or feel like you've become someone else without trying, you've activated the quantum code. The question is, can this be done intentionally? The answer is yes, but it begins by recognizing that your subconscious is not broken, blocked, or resistant. It's simply running a pattern based on energetic alignment. When you shift that alignment through awareness and coherence, the code changes. This is the real power, not to push against the subconscious, but to guide it gently, like tuning a signal. Next, we'll move deeper into the mechanism that allows this rewiring to occur, a biological switch that most people activate without even knowing it, and how it can be used consciously to rewrite not just memories, but your entire identity. There's a network in your brain responsible for filtering reality. It decides what you notice, what you ignore, and what your subconscious accepts as true. It operates constantly, day and night, and it doesn't ask for permission. It's called the reticular activating system, or RAS. This tiny yet powerful cluster of neurons sits at the base of your brainstem. And while it doesn't get much attention in pop psychology, it plays a central role in subconscious programming. The RAS acts like a gatekeeper. It scans your environment, filtering out the millions of stimuli you receive every second. Out of all that chaos, it lets in only the information that aligns with your existing beliefs, identity, and intentions, both conscious and unconscious. This isn't a metaphor. It's a biological reality. When you set an intention or form a belief, whether through repetition, emotion, or suggestion, the RAS begins filtering information that matches that belief. It lets in anything that confirms it and pushes away anything that contradicts it. So when someone says, "I always attract bad luck," their RAS goes to work scanning the world for evidence. It highlights traffic delays, missed opportunities, and failed attempts, reinforcing the belief and making it feel truer every day. Not because the world changed, but because the filter changed. But here's where things get really interesting. The RAS isn't the only player in this hidden rewiring process. There's another force at work, a more subtle, energetic factor that exists not in the structure of the brain, but in the state of the brain-body system. It's called coherence. When your heart rhythm, brainwaves, and breath enter a synchronized, harmonious pattern, your entire system shifts into a different mode, one that is far more receptive to change. This isn't theory, it's measurable. In this state, neural plasticity increases. Emotional resistance drops. Old patterns lose their grip. And new impressions can take root almost effortlessly. This is the rewiring switch, a temporary window where subconscious programming becomes highly suggestible. It's not limited to meditation. It's not exclusive to hypnosis. It's a natural, trainable physiological state that occurs when intention, emotion, and attention become congruent. Most people have stumbled into this state by accident. It happens during emotional breakthroughs, peak experiences, or moments of stillness when the mind stops resisting. They walk away saying, "Something shifted," or "I just felt different." That's not vague language. That's how the subconscious describes transformation when it can't explain it rationally. Here's the key. You don't need to wait for emotional extremes or random flashes of clarity to access this state. You can trigger it consciously by understanding how quantum coherence interacts with your biology. When your thoughts, emotions, and nervous system enter coherence, they generate a distinct electromagnetic field. This field is measurable and radiates from the body. What's more, it interacts with the quantum field, the universal matrix of possibility. This is where physics and psychology meet. Quantum coherence refers to the alignment of particles or waves in phase, meaning they move together in rhythm. This phenomenon allows them to communicate and act as one, even across space. When you enter coherence, physiologically, emotionally, and mentally, you become a resonant signal in the quantum field. You stop sending scattered, contradictory vibrations. You start broadcasting a clear frequency, one that aligns not just your biology, but your external reality. This is why sudden shifts feel effortless when coherence is present. Because your subconscious isn't being told to change. It's being shown a stronger, clearer signal to follow. Think of it like a tuning fork. When a coherent frequency is struck, anything around it that shares the same resonant structure begins to vibrate in harmony. Your subconscious does the same. It locks onto the dominant frequency. If that frequency is fear or doubt, it syncs with that. But if the dominant frequency is focused intention combined with emotional clarity, then transformation happens, instantly. This is why the combination of intention plus emotion plus coherence is so powerful. It bypasses the conscious mind's defenses. It triggers the brain's neuroplasticity. And it reshapes the subconscious without the friction we usually associate with change. Now let's bring it together. First, you create clarity about the belief or reality you want to install, not just intellectually but emotionally. You feel it as real, not as fantasy but as fact. Then you enter a coherent state through breath, rhythm, or stillness. You allow your heart and brain to synchronize. Finally, you hold the new signal long enough for the RAS to pick it up and strong enough for the subconscious to accept it as the new default. When this happens, the filtering system starts scanning your environment in a new way. It lets in opportunities that align with the new belief. It ignores past patterns. It reorganizes your reality from the inside out. But none of this requires years of reconditioning, because the shift doesn't happen at the level of repetition. It happens at the level of resonance. This is the real rewire button. It's not a mantra. It's not a mindset. It's a frequency match between your inner world and the quantum field. When coherence is present, the subconscious doesn't resist. It synchronizes. And once it does, the RAS begins reconstructing your perception, which leads to new actions, new results, and a feedback loop that reinforces the transformation. This is the switch you've been unknowingly pressing your entire life. During emotional events, traumatic moments, epiphanies, or deep meditative states. Now that you understand how it works, you no longer have to wait for randomness. You can generate it. In the next part, we'll explore how this same mechanism doesn't just change your mindset. It may actually allow you to tune into alternate versions of yourself. Not theoretically, but experientially. You're not stuck. You're just tuned to one station. And the frequency for a different life might be much closer than you think. There's a concept in modern physics that, while controversial, has been taken seriously by some of the greatest scientific minds of our time. Proposes that there isn't just one version of reality but many, perhaps even infinite, each existing simultaneously, each slightly different, each representing a different version of how reality could unfold. This is known as the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. The theory suggests that every choice, every possibility, every quantum event doesn't just resolve in one direction. It resolves in all possible directions. And each of those directions becomes its own timeline, its own dimension, its own fully functioning version of reality. Now let's step away from particles and equations for a moment. And bring this home. Your subconscious doesn't distinguish between real and imagined. It responds to input regardless of its source. Whether it's a memory, a visualization, or an emotional experience, your subconscious treats it as data to be processed and stored. So when you engage in mental rehearsal or visualization or emotional embodiment of a future experience, you aren't just thinking positively. You are tuning your subconscious identity to a version of yourself that exists in another probability stream. And here's the key. When your subconscious identity shifts, your perception of reality shifts with it. This is not abstract theory. This is practical quantum alignment. Think of reality as a field of infinite radio stations. Each one broadcasts a version of you. One where you're struggling, one where you're thriving, one where you're learning, one where you've already arrived. All of them exist simultaneously in the field of possibility. But you can only hear the one you're tuned to. Your subconscious acts as the tuner. It filters your perception, guides your decisions, and shapes your expectations based on the frequency it's aligned with. If it's tuned to lack, it finds lack. If it's tuned to self-worth, it finds opportunity. Not because it creates the external world, but because it filters for the version that matches. So the real question isn't, how do I fix my life? The question is, which version of myself am I tuned into, and how can I shift that frequency? This is where intentional identity work becomes quantum technology. When you shift the way you feel about yourself, when you consistently embody the thoughts, emotions, and behaviors of your desired self, not as fantasy but as repetition and experience, you begin to collapse probability into form. Your subconscious stops identifying with the version of you that's stuck or blocked. It starts aligning with the version of you that's already on the other side. And because of how the quantum field operates, this isn't metaphorical. This is selection. You are selecting a path, a timeline, a version, and your subconscious, acting as both tuner and navigator, begins aligning your perception, your behavior, and your external reality to match that selection. This is why people who commit to internal change often notice that the external world starts reflecting that change back to them. It's not magic. It's not wishful thinking. It's feedback from a field that's responding to a new dominant signal. You're not creating a new reality from scratch. You're stepping into one that already exists, and aligning your subconscious identity with the rules, resources, and outcomes of that version. Let's make it even clearer. Your subconscious is constantly scanning for congruence. If your conscious desires say, I want abundance, but your subconscious identity says, I'm not enough, there's dissonance. And dissonance weakens the signal. But when both conscious and subconscious are aligned, I want abundance, and I am someone who receives abundance, you send a coherent broadcast into the field. The filter changes. Your actions change. Your feedback loop begins to support the new identity. This is why visualization, when done correctly, is so powerful. Not because you're tricking your brain, but because you're training it to tune into another version of yourself. The key word is embodiment. You must feel it. You must think from it, not about it. You must become the version of you who already occupies the timeline you desire. This is not role play. It's resonance. And when resonance is established, the field responds. So how do you use this practically? Start by identifying the version of you that already lives the life you want, the version that feels confident, purposeful, aligned. Ask what they think, how they act, what they believe about themselves. Then begin living from that place, even in small, daily decisions. Every time you think a thought that matches that version, you reinforce the frequency. Every time you act in a way that honors that identity, you strengthen the signal. And over time, the subconscious begins filtering out what doesn't match and locking in on what does. The tuning fork shifts. The station changes. You feel the difference before you see it. But the external begins to rearrange itself in ways that feel synchronistic, unexpected, even miraculous. Not because the world changed, but because your signal did. It's important to understand. This isn't a one-time trick. It's not about forcing reality. It's about aligning identity with possibility and trusting that the mechanics of the quantum field do the rest. And the more you practice coherence between who you are and who you choose to become, the more natural these shifts will feel. You'll stop asking for change and start noticing that it's already happening. Often in the background, often without effort, because your subconscious has locked into a new set of instructions. Not through struggle, through selection. And that's where the real power is. You're not stuck. You're just tuned to a version of yourself that's out of alignment with your vision. But that version is not permanent. It's not fixed. It's not final. It's just familiar. The moment you train your subconscious to feel more familiar with a new version, a freer, more capable, more whole version, the switch begins. The old code weakens. The new signal strengthens. And the world, like a mirror, adjusts accordingly. Next, we'll pull back the curtain on why some people manifest results instantly, while others spend years spinning in circles. And the truth might surprise you. You've seen it happen. Someone decides to change their life, and suddenly, everything lines up for them. A job offer appears out of nowhere. A relationship falls into place. Their health improves. Their business skyrockets. Meanwhile, others try everything. They visualize, affirm, hustle, and barely move an inch. It raises a very uncomfortable but critical question. Why do some people seem to bend reality in their favor, almost overnight, while others struggle endlessly to manifest even the smallest shift? This isn't about luck. It's not about being chosen. And it has nothing to do with being more spiritual, disciplined, or deserving. It comes down to alignment and, more specifically, the principle of quantum collapse. To understand this, you first need to move beyond the surface-level definitions of manifestation. It's not simply about thinking good thoughts or repeating affirmations until something sticks. Manifestation, in its truest, most powerful form, is the result of energetic alignment between internal consciousness and the quantum field of possibility. And the moment that alignment reaches a critical threshold, reality appears to collapse in your favor. In quantum mechanics, a wave function represents all possible states of a system, contains probabilities, not certainties. But when a conscious observer interacts with that wave, it collapses into a specific outcome. This is called wave function collapse. One version becomes reality. The others fade into potential. The same dynamic applies to your life. Your subconscious is interacting with your personal wave function all the time. Every belief you hold, every emotion you feel, every identity you embody, they influence which version of reality collapses into your experience. Here's the secret. Those who manifest quickly aren't just thinking differently. They're feeling differently. They've reached a state where their internal frequency is in such coherent alignment with the outcome they desire that the external has no choice but to conform. This is not cause and effect in the traditional sense. This is resonance. When you resonate with an outcome, not just intellectually but emotionally and energetically, you pull that outcome out of the wave of possibilities and into your lived experience. Here's where most people go wrong. They think they're manifesting from desire, but in truth, they're manifesting from lack. They want success, but their subconscious says, "I'm still struggling." They visualize love, but they feel unworthy. They affirm abundance, but their nervous system is still calibrated to scarcity. And the quantum field doesn't respond to the words, it responds to the signal. So no matter how many techniques they use, if the emotional signature of their signal is, "I don't have it," the field responds accordingly. This is the trap. What seems like action is often just resistance wearing a mask. Meanwhile, those who manifest easily often carry a neutral or expectant frequency. They don't chase outcomes. They embody the version of themselves that already has it. Their identity matches the destination. And that identity becomes the magnet. There's a formula that simplifies this. Emotion plus intention equals manifestation force. Emotion fuels the signal. Intention directs it. When you pair a clear intention, a specific, focused vision, with a powerful emotional frequency like joy, gratitude, or certainty, the result is coherence. And coherence generates momentum in the quantum field. That momentum reaches a tipping point, and when it does, the wave collapses. The opportunity shows up. The message arrives. The coincidence occurs. It seems instant, but in truth, the field had been reorganizing in the background the entire time. What changed was your capacity to receive it. Let's go deeper. The subconscious is not designed to create new things from scratch. It's designed to receive, store, and reinforce what's already been impressed upon it. So if you impress it with fear, urgency, and lack, it reinforces those. If you impress it with peace, clarity, and confidence, it begins to rewire its filters. This is how quantum resonance creates tangible change. Resonance means that two systems, when vibrating at the same frequency, can transfer energy between them effortlessly. One activates the other. So if you become energetically identical to the reality you want, you resonate with that timeline. You begin transferring energy, momentum, from the field of potential to the field of experience. And when enough momentum is built, the shift feels immediate. It's not trickery. It's not luck. It's physics. But here's the challenge. Most people try to fake resonance. They say the right things, visualize the right images, but inside, they feel misaligned. Doubt, impatience, or unworthiness sits beneath the surface. And that incoherence weakens the signal. This is why deep manifestation doesn't come from surface-level positivity. It comes from identity shift, when you no longer hope for the outcome but feel it as familiar. When you stop reaching and start radiating. When the new version of you becomes emotionally natural, the field responds. This is the root of instant change. Not because you forced it, but because your frequency matched it. So how do you create this level of alignment? You start with presence. You slow the nervous system down until the subconscious is receptive. Then you set intention, not from desperation, but from clarity. You focus on the version of reality that feels most aligned. And you charge that vision with elevated emotion, not fantasy, but embodiment. You feel what it would feel like if it were already so. Not as imagination, but as memory. This may sound subtle, but the subconscious knows the difference. When you recall something from the past, you engage the same brain regions you use when visualizing the future. The only thing that changes is emotional familiarity. That's why the emotion matters. Gratitude and certainty signal that something is already yours. Fear and doubt signal that it's not safe to receive it. The quantum field, like your subconscious, does not argue. It reflects. And once you align the two, internal resonance and external possibility, you stop chasing change. You become a conduit for it. This is not metaphysical hype. This is energetic precision. And the proof lies not in belief, but in experience. Start paying attention to your emotional baseline, your dominant self-image, your practiced thoughts, because those are the codes being broadcast every moment. And the field is always listening. In the next part, we'll decode how your subconscious communicates with the quantum realm, not through logic or words, but through a symbolic vibrational language that most people have forgotten how to speak. And once you remember that language, the level of precision you'll gain in your reality creation process will be unlike anything you've known before. Every day, you're sending messages into the quantum field, signals that carry your intent, your beliefs, and your energetic state. But the truth is, most people are speaking the wrong language. They shout their desires in words, but the universe isn't listening to their sentences. It's listening to their signal. And that signal doesn't speak English, or any spoken language for that matter. It speaks in vibration, in symbols, in images, in resonance. The quantum field, like your subconscious mind, does not understand logic the way your conscious mind does. It doesn't process your goals as bullet points or checklists. It responds to patterns, energetic, emotional, and symbolic patterns that contain meaning far beyond words. This is where most manifestation and mindset methods fall short. People try to force change by saying the right things. They repeat affirmations mechanically. They visualize their goals without emotional charge. They journal outcomes they don't believe in. But underneath it all, the signal remains unchanged. Because while the mouth is speaking one message, the subconscious is broadcasting another, through tone, emotion, posture, imagery, and most importantly, through frequency. So to influence the field, to truly send a message that registers, you must speak the hidden language that both your subconscious and the quantum respond to. Let's break that down. Start with symbols. Throughout human history, symbols have carried immense energetic weight. From ancient glyphs to sacred geometry, from religious icons to cultural archetypes, symbols bypass rational thought and speak directly to the subconscious. A symbol isn't just a shape. It's a compressed packet of meaning, one that communicates at an instinctual level. The subconscious recognizes these packets and uses them to organize internal states and expectations. For example, a circle often represents wholeness. A triangle can suggest transformation. The spiral implies expansion or evolution. These shapes may seem abstract, but to your subconscious and by extension the field, they act as activation codes. Now consider imagery. The mind thinks in pictures. The clearer and more emotionally charged the image, the more deeply it embeds into the subconscious. And once embedded, it starts to guide perception, decision-making, and energetic output. This is why vision boards, guided visualizations, and mental rehearsal work, not because of magic, but because they saturate the subconscious with specific imagery, reinforcing a reality that feels increasingly familiar. Familiarity, as you've already seen, is the bridge to alignment. But the image alone isn't enough. You must pair it with feeling. Emotion is the amplifier. When you imagine something with zero emotion, it's weak data. When you charge that image with gratitude, joy, power, or peace, it becomes a coded transmission. The subconscious receives it, stores it, and begins to treat it as reality. And because the subconscious filters your experience, you begin noticing pathways, opportunities, and connections that match the emotional frequency of that inner imagery. Now let's go deeper into sound and frequency. Everything in existence vibrates. Your body, your thoughts, your memories, all have a vibrational signature. And the quantum field is composed entirely of frequencies interacting, interfering, and entangling. This is where binaural beats, mantras, and vocal resonance come in. When specific frequencies are introduced to the brain, particularly through sound, they create a shift in brainwave activity. From beta to alpha, from alpha to theta, these shifts bring the brain into states that are ideal for subconscious access and energetic imprinting. Theta, for example, is a bridge between the conscious and subconscious mind. It's the realm of deep meditation, hypnotic suggestion, and accelerated learning. By using sound frequencies that guide the brain into this state, you create a portal through which new messages can be received more effectively. And when those messages are delivered using emotionally charged imagery or symbolically rich language, the result is far more potent than simply trying to think positively. It's a multidimensional broadcast, a message that speaks to the subconscious and the quantum simultaneously. But it doesn't stop there. There's one more layer: movement. The body is a transmitter. Every gesture, breath, and posture you adopt shapes the signal you're emitting. Slouching communicates defeat. Open posture signals confidence. Breath patterns signal calm or stress. When movement, breath, and awareness are synchronized, such as in practices like qigong, ecstatic dance, or coherent breathing, the body begins to radiate a unified frequency. And this unity acts as a beacon to the field. You are no longer a fragmented signal. You are speaking with clarity. Let's put it together. To speak the hidden language of the quantum mind, your signal must be symbolic, using shapes, archetypes, or emotionally resonant metaphors. Imagistic, filled with vivid, multisensory inner pictures. Emotional, amplified by elevated feelings, not dry concepts. Vibrational, supported by coherent breath, sound, or frequency. Somatic, embodied physically through posture or motion. This is how you create energetic instructions that the subconscious follows and the quantum responds to. And when you do this consistently, the results compound. You don't just get momentary clarity, you get lasting transformation. You start to notice that your external world mirrors your internal patterns with increasing speed and precision. It's no longer about forcing change. It's about transmitting the right instructions. Your current life is a mirror of your current broadcast. Change the language, change the message, change the mirror. This isn't abstract. This is mechanical. The same way a thermostat sets a room's temperature, your subconscious sets the tone of your life. And the way you communicate with that thermostat determines what you receive. Stop trying to shout new ideas into a system that only responds to symbolic, energetic cues. Start sending messages that your deeper mind understands. Once you master this language, every tool becomes more effective. Visualizations deepen. Affirmations resonate. Meditations shift from passive to active. And your results accelerate not because you're doing more, but because you're finally being heard. In the next segment, we'll simplify this entire process into one focused, daily ritual. A 3-minute practice that fuses visualization, coherence, and quantum anchoring, designed to create a powerful, energetic command that the field can't ignore. Because now that you know the language, it's time to speak it fluently. Understanding the mechanics of quantum alignment and subconscious transformation is powerful. But understanding alone doesn't rewire anything. It's the practice that rewires, the repetition, the embodiment, the signal you broadcast when your intention, emotion, and awareness come into sync. Now that you know the language of the quantum mind and the mechanics of subconscious filtering, the question becomes, how do you apply it daily, consistently, efficiently, and without needing hours of meditation, endless journaling, or complex routines? The answer is simple. Through a daily 3-minute ritual designed to tune your system, activate coherence, and communicate directly with the subconscious and the quantum field. This isn't a trick. It's a protocol. You're about to learn a structured, step-by-step practice that engages the precise mechanisms we've covered: intention setting, emotional alignment, symbolic visualization, and vibrational anchoring. And it works not because it's elaborate, but because it's precise. Let's walk through it. Step 1. Align the body, 30 seconds. Begin by entering a neutral, relaxed posture. Stand or sit upright, shoulders open, head aligned. Let your spine extend. Let your breath slow down. Why? Because the body acts as a signal amplifier. If your posture is closed, your signal is scattered. When the body is aligned, your nervous system begins shifting toward coherence. Take 3 full breaths. Inhale through the nose for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale through the mouth for 6. This pattern signals safety. Safety invites receptivity. And receptivity is the gateway to subconscious influence. After 3 breaths, your system is primed. Step 2. Set the intention, 30 seconds. Now bring to mind a single, clear outcome. Not a list, not a vague wish. One precise transformation you want to install: a belief, a trait, an experience. For example, I am someone who attracts aligned opportunities effortlessly. Or, I am fully confident in my ability to lead, speak, and be seen. Whatever you choose, it must be short, specific, and spoken from identity, not desire. Do not phrase it as something you're chasing. Phrase it as a current state, present tense, embodied. Repeat the phrase softly, not like a chant, like a signal. Feel the shape of the words as you say them. Let your body relax deeper with each repetition. This is your anchor. Step 3. Activate emotion, 30 seconds. Now generate the emotional signature of your chosen state. If your phrase is about abundance, feel the ease and freedom of already having it. If your phrase is about confidence, feel the calm power of being centered and respected. Don't just think it, feel it. Let the emotion build. Let it spread through your chest, your hands, your face. Smile if it helps. Let the body participate in the emotion. Why does this matter? Because the subconscious stores emotion as proof of reality. When you combine emotional charge with clear intent, you create a chemical and energetic imprint that sticks. This is what the quantum field responds to, not the words, but the frequency behind the words. Step 4. Visualize symbolically, 30 seconds. Now, with emotion active, close your eyes and project a single, vivid image that represents your intention. But here's the key. Do not visualize literally. Instead, use a symbol or scene that emotionally conveys your outcome. If your phrase was about abundance, don't picture money falling from the sky. Picture yourself standing tall, feeling limitless, or walking into a room where the energy bends in your favor. Let the scene be emotionally charged, not logically accurate. Symbolic imagery cuts deeper. The subconscious interprets symbols faster than it interprets literal narratives. And remember, the image must feel familiar, not fantastical. Familiar. You're remembering a truth, not fabricating a fantasy. Let the symbol lock in. Step 5. Anchor the signal, 30 seconds. Now bring your awareness to your body. Notice where the emotion is strongest. Place a hand on that area, often the heart or solar plexus. As you press lightly, repeat your phrase once more. Softly, firmly, let the image and emotion stay alive. This tactile gesture creates an anchor, a physical reference point that connects the emotional state to your physiology. You're no longer just thinking the signal. You're embodying it. This is the moment of encoding. Everything you've done so far, alignment, intention, emotion, imagery, converges here. The touch acts as a lock-in command. Your system receives the message not as theory, but as instruction. Step 6. Release and trust, 30 seconds. Now, release the hand, open the eyes, and return to stillness. Drop all mental effort. Feel a moment of quiet confidence. You've just completed a full-loop transmission. You've spoken in the subconscious language. You've broadcast to the quantum field. You've shifted your internal frequency. And now you let go. Not in apathy, but in certainty. You've done your part. The rest unfolds through momentum, receptivity, and resonance. This practice may take just 3 minutes, but its impact is exponential when done daily. Why? Because repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity creates identity. And identity shapes the subconscious filter that determines which version of reality you live in. Each day you run this ritual, you reinforce your alignment. Each day you tune the signal. And each day you rewire a little deeper, not by force, but by frequency. This is not a performance. It's not about convincing yourself. It's about becoming so vibrationally attuned to your desired self that the rest of the world adjusts in response. Your RAS filters differently. Your subconscious makes different choices. The field returns new feedback. And what once felt impossible begins to feel inevitable. You're not chasing change anymore. You are generating it. Every time you complete this ritual, you strengthen a neural pathway. You deepen an energetic groove. You train the body and mind to expect, embody, and reflect the version of you that already lives the reality you used to only dream about. This is the hidden quantum force. It is not mystical. It is not random. It is not reserved for the lucky few. It is a system, a natural, powerful system that responds to clarity, coherence, and consistency. And now you have the tool to work with it, daily, consciously, and efficiently. So here's the invitation. Run this ritual every morning for 21 days. Just 3 minutes. One phrase, one feeling, one symbol, and one silent command. This is now who I am. Watch how the subtle begins to shift. Watch how the obvious follows. Watch how the internal command becomes external confirmation. This isn't about waiting. It's about tuning. Because the version of you who already has what you're asking for, that version isn't far away. It's already broadcasting. Now you're speaking the same language.